everyone, welcome back to Blooms and Bicycles. During the month of May, ombres of greenery burst back into life again. And now freewheeling into the height of springtime, we pass through wafts of heaven-sent aromas from the floods of lilac flowers, with great thanks to the people in our local areas who choose to plant them in their gardens and communal spaces. And as the nights draw out and the days become longer, and long sweeping blooms, both trailing and tall, and also in many shades of the lilac colour, together provide a complementing backdrop for this iconic flower. And as they all sway together in the warm spring breeze, all of a sudden it begins to feel like we're pedalling through heaven on earth. To bring the magic of these moments into the home, this collection combines an array of different lilac flower varieties with other complementing blooms in various shades of purples, fresh greens, whites, and silvery lilac lunar tones in what we have decided to call today the Lilacs and Long Days Flower Collection. In today's tutorial, we'll be sharing with you how to construct the Lilacs and Long Days large letterbox flowers. Today our water vessel is already prepared with the water and flower feed. However, if you would like to understand what to do to make your flowers last for as long as possible, you can always refer to our flower care video, which can be found via the link in the description box below. And as we always do, we'll start by constructing our grid using the strongest of stems. And in this collection they are the common dogwood and lilac leaves. And we don't actually add that much greenery into this collection, only because the lilacs is what we are here to celebrate with this collection, and we just want to give them as much chance as they can to speak for themselves. So with our two pieces of foliage, we'll rest these on either side. And now to add in our lilac flowers. And in this piece you will receive 3 different varieties of lilacs, just to go all out with the celebration of lilacs and what May is all about. And what is so beautiful about lilacs, which you might already know, is how all the different varieties have their own shapes. So the overall shape of each flower will be different. Some are more upright and candle shaped, whilst others are more sweeping with lots more movement. The other lovely thing as well to note with lilacs is how the perfumes change depending on the variety. So the lighter the lilac colour of the flower, the more delicate and jasmine the notes are. And then as you start to graduate into the deeper amethyst purple, and then more towards the magenta and cerise undertoned flowers, the more of a delicate sweet musk smell that comes from the perfume. They're beautiful. And when you put them all together, oh, it's heaven sent. So let's get going anyway, enough of that. So just to trim away our first piece, which as you can see has a natural hook shape to it. So we'll use this to our advantage and position it towards the front, allowing it to sweep off and create that natural garden style. And as other flowers are introduced after this, they will also be used to weight down this flower. So it will actually push up slightly more eventually. Unless of course you find that with a hook-shaped flower, you can use the side of the vase to your advantage and position it in such a way up the side of the vase where it does that for you. And so now to take our other 2 pieces. So again, trimming away on the angle. We'll allow one to sweep off to the left, while the other will sweep off to the right. So just making sure they're not too long, and trimming away any of the leaves which will fall under the watermark. And now to add in the accents of white, which are in this ranunculus, this Ornithogalum Saundersiae, and this White Dahlia. So as you can see, the Saundersiae is the tallest stem, which will be perfect towards the back, while the Dahlia is the shortest, which will be perfect position towards the front. And therefore subsequently the ranunculus will be ideal situated right in the centre of the grid. And on the note of the ranunculus, these are also pre-wired like the ranunculus in the Blossom Season collection last month, just because we find this prolongs the life of the stem and allows the flower to fully flourish. So if we introduce the Dahlia first, which helps break up some of the purple tones so far. And then we'll add the Saundersiae towards the back, if it wants to go. And so with the Saundersiae, it can be quite top heavy, which means it will twizzle in a way all of its own. So if you do really want it to face a particular way, going back to what we've discussed previously about finding a gap in the grid on the furthest side to where you want the flower head to show, so that the grid position compensates for the weight and the sweep of the bloom to allow it to then sit where you envisage it going. And now to add our silvery lilac lunar coloured rose. So this will be perfect placed on the opposite side to this large distribution of lilacs, allowing for that natural fanburst effect that we always talk about. And then also to add our Canterbury Bells. So if we dot these around the arrangement in wherever there are currently voids, and trimming them down to varying heights to offer different points of interest. So trimming away on the angle, as we always do. Keeping some very tall, so they can be positioned towards the back. We'll then significantly trim down others, so they can be positioned right at the very front. And if you find that the grid enables them to sit on an unusual angle that you really like, but actually it's above the waterline, that's fine. Just go for it, and then at the very end you can always top right up to the top of the vase to make sure everything still gets a good drink. And so just continuing to add our bells into place. And then we'll just add these in up the side of the vase to get those lovely angles. So what we want to make sure is that the lilac still takes centre stage. So just making sure, although we do still want our varying heights, that a flower head of another variety doesn't overshadow the lilac flowers. And then actually something else you can do as an option is to actually split your Canterbury Bell into two different stems. So if you look for the halfway point in between the flowers and trim on an angle just after one of the flower's offshoots. And then effectively you've got another two stems if you want to do that. So again, we'll just add these in. And with this shorter piece, we'll introduce this towards the front. And before topping up our vase with more water, we'll just come around the front to give it one final check. And hopefully it looks how I envisaged from when I was working it out at the back. So this lilac leaf stem will be perfect at the back, just to provide a backdrop to the flowers in front. So what we just do is gently twist from side to side whilst lifting upwards. And then making sure our lilacs can still be seen. The leaves of the lilac flower are easily manipulated as well. So if they do overshadow the flower, if you just flex them downwards or off to the side, that will be fine. And so now to add in the lilac leaves towards the back and twirl some of the flower stems back into place. So now everything looks thereabouts. We'll now add the Viburnum, the Clematis and the Limonium as the finishing touches. So this Viburnum is very top heavy and takes for a lot of control from the grid to stay in place, and this is why it's always best to add it towards the very end. So we'll just trim it down to size based on where in the grid we wish it to be. And now that we've got a lot more stems and a denser grid to work with, this will provide the control required to help it position itself in the way that we need it to be. And now to take the Limonium. And as a material in the florist world, Limonium is brilliant to work with. You get so many offshoots from the one stem, and they can just be introduced without actually being in any water, resting on top of the grid. And from that they can naturally air dry in the room throughout the course of the display's life. And as they do naturally dry, they will still hold all of their colour and all of their form. So very similar to the asparagus fern in the Blossom Season collection. This is the perfect filler that just does away with any gaps and really goes all out with that garden style design. And now that we've added our Limonium, it's just the final finishing touch of the very delicate clematis stems. And in this piece you'll receive 3 different clematis varieties, all with lilac undertones, but all in totally different shades and different flower shapes. So these 2 pieces here, although very similar, actually look really nice when they sweep off to the left and right in close proximity to one another. So luckily, because this is now at the end, we only need very small spaces in the grid to add them in. So once you've found a nice place on the opposite side of the grid to where you want it to sweep, if you just flex that stem into place and allow it to intermingle with other flower heads, just so it looks really wild and natural. And we'll do the same on this side. I might have to come around the front to do this one. So again, finding a place on the opposing side to where you want it to sweep. And then with this particular type of clematis, as you can see, the flower heads grow on significantly longer stems. And so to really make the most of this variety, this can actually look really nice when it's almost allowed to float on top of the rest of the flowers. You'll see what I mean in a moment. So making sure it can fit into the grid so it is in the water, placing it towards the very front and then just gently flexing it backwards allows all of those flower heads to intermingle around the rest of the design while standing up and completely taking centre stage, without outshining other varieties that are in the display. So we'll just flex it into place. And there we have it, that's the final finishing touch. So just to come around the front and take one final look. And I think we're spot on. So there you have it, the Lilacs and Long Days large letterbox flowers. I hope you enjoy the rest of May and hope you enjoy the abundances of lilacs that are in full bloom right now as much as me and Roberta do, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.